What is happening, everyone, tonight on this very lovely Monday evening? And welcome to another episode of the Undercovers Podcast. I am Connor, also known as That Florida Guy 5, alongside with Ben and Paul. I'm just coming off of a wild day yesterday, commentating an entire race at Gateway. And now here I am about to talk football all over again and act like I know absolutely nothing. Because if you watched my live stream yesterday, you will know that when it comes to ball, know nothing.
Oh,
So
you know some things.
I know nothing, not compared to what I know in the racing world. But
So you know
anyway,
more wheel.
I do know a lot more wheel, of course. So what we are going to do to start tonight's
But
show.
not Wheel of Fortune,
Yeah,
right?
not Wheel of Fortune. No, you put me on that show, I would absolutely be horrible.
Except
So
I don't know if you guys saw that the viral clip
Yeah.
recently, but I think you would
hmm
do better than that one guy that said right in the you know what.
oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
that was funny.
that it was funny. I did in fact see that. Um, so let's kick off the show with the breaking news that I'm sure everybody has already heard by now if you follow the NFL, and the news that made me very, very sad for no reason whatsoever. Justin Jefferson has signed an extension with the Minnesota Vikings that now makes him the highest non quarterback paid player in the entire league.
In NFL history, right?
In NFL history,
Yes.
yes. And
You got the
yeah,
contract details.
Pull
I
it
don't
up.
want to talk about the contract details because it's just going to make me sad because my dream for
I
Justin
mean, there was
Jefferson
a
for the Bills is
reason.
dead.
I mean, I hate to be a party pooper, but there was a reason I tried to damper your hopes. Back in whatever show we talked about.
It was a
Justin Jefferson.
4-year, $140 million contract, including $110 million guaranteed.
Wow.
All this, right? Just to play on a team with a very big, gigantic question mark at quarterback. Like I can tell, bro clearly wanted to get that paycheck because if you want a Super Bowl ring, you are not going to win a Super Bowl ring in Minnesota with JJ McSystem as your quarterback. I can
Well, I
promise you
guess
that.
I mean here's the thing, and again, like I said, I told I mean I don't want to say I told you so, but I kind of did back when it came to the Justin Jefferson trade discussions. But as far as Minnesota goes, I've been one of the bigger JJ McCarthy haters myself.
That's JJ
I've called
McSystem.
him. No, you mean Zach Wilson 2.0, which is what I've called him, and
Mhm.
a couple other analysts have called him as well.
Yep.
But I'm going to give him a shot and the benefit of the doubt with a solid O line, a good running back, and yes, this could be the only year with Aaron Jones, but Ty Chandler did show promise last year, and they have great weapons. So I'm gonna see it before I really say Minnesota is going nowhere with McCarthy, because they still have some pieces to build with. I mean, I doubt they can reasonably pay Jordan Addison, but they do have the benefit of the fifth-year option, so they'll still have 4 more years of one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver duo in the NFL together. So no matter who's the quarterback, I mean, even if McCarthy flames out, I mean, they could always try to sign someone like what the Jets did, but obviously it's going to be hard with the cap. But I mean, just to put things into perspective, the Bills this season, they're paying their wide receivers about 12.1 million in total, like all like 8 of them or whatever, including Coleman, even Hamler, Shorter, and then of course Samuel Hollins, MVS, and Claypool and Shakir. So they're paying their receivers about 12.1 million, whereas Justin Jefferson's getting 27.2 million guaranteed a season. So that just kind of shows the disparity of like the Bills wide receiver room, and I guess they're kind of trying something wide receiver by committee, but they still have the potential to sign someone to a big contract. And I mean, there's some other decent free agents still going to be available next offseason. Now, I doubt CeeDee Lamb makes it into free agency, but I mean, Justin Jefferson, you can't deny he deserves it, but obviously it's difficult to, for the Bills, even if they had the assets, which they probably did, if they wanted to send like 2 first-round picks and a second or something for Jefferson, maybe they could have and still been able to be fine with picks, but it's hard to pay a wide receiver $35 million and then a quarterback and then other players. So the Bills are trying something different. Maybe next year they pay someone, but definitely not $35 million a year, because you can still, sign multiple other good players with the remaining, $15 million of cap space. And I think that's kind of the approach Bean is doing this offseason. It's kind of just like fill depth at a lot of different areas and not have many glaring weaknesses. I know wide receiver could be looked as a minor weakness, maybe, or one of the bigger ones, but I still think
for now,
talent to the room, and you could still, add with some of the cap space available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for now it'll be a weakness, but once Keon becomes Keon, we will be just fine in the wide receiver department. Let's just be completely real with ourselves, Ben. You know it.
100%.
I know it.
I mean, and just one more thing for me on this deal, like JJ McCarthy, he has all the tools to succeed, so he better take advantage of them on this. Exactly, Paul. No excuses on this rookie deal. He's got the best wide receiver in the game locked up, and I think Justin Jefferson's still going to want to go out there and prove, he's still the best player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And even Jefferson's still playing for another contract, right? Like if he keeps performing, he could get an even better payday maybe in 4 years. Like he's still young enough.
He is still young enough, but at that point, you've already made all the money you're going to ever be able to spend in your life. Why not actually go out, take less, and try to win a freaking Super Bowl ring?
Well, I guess we'll see what the Vikings. I guess we'll see what the Vikings look like at that point. But
yeah, they. I mean, we'll see if JJ McCarthy is more than just JJ McSystem. But
for sure,
we'll absolutely find out if Kevin O'Connell and team have enough.
Wherewithal, I guess.
I should say, yes, to kind of amplify the Vikings' talent where they have it, which is Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. But other than that, it is also been reported that Buffalo is hosting or bidding to host the 2028 NFL Draft. How excited would you two be if the NFL Draft itself was held in Buffalo? Would either of you go?
I mean, I would for sure.
All right, we're all going then.
Yeah, right. We'll do a live stream from the draft.
All right, yeah, we're
there
all
we
going.
go.
Mm-hmm. But no, I mean that would be something like definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity to get the draft in Buffalo. They'll get to show off the new stadium, and I think it would be a cool venue out in Orchard Park. You have the field house and surrounding areas, and obviously all the parking lots. And I expect it to be very nice by then. By the time they have the new stadium, and someone actually had a kind of interesting idea of leaving the current stadium intact until until the draft is complete, and then demolishing it. So then you have kind of both stadiums set up for the draft. Like that would kind of be sweet, to have the new one next to each other, next to the old one. You still have plenty of, I think, area around. And I mean, again, like I think Detroit and even Kansas City, like some of these other markets that aren't typical big time markets, have shown that they can do an awesome time hosting the draft. It doesn't have to be in Philly or New York every year. Like it can be in like a Buffalo. I know it's going to be in Green Bay next year. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be awesome. And obviously 2027, it's in Pittsburgh. And I think that should be cool as well, depending on where they host that. I expect probably at Heinz Field.
Oh, nah, you know what? You know what? They should win the Super Bowl that year before they host the draft. That way you see exactly just how crazy the Yinzer folk get after a Super Bowl win, because that would just be insane. Have them host the draft, and then after they're
What
already
about the
celebrating
Bills
a
hosting
Super
the
Bowl win.
draft after the Super Bowl?
Yes, that too, because that'll be a lot wilder. Let's be completely real.
Oh, 100%.
I
So,
mean,
I would
the
love to
draft
see.
in Buffalo would be awesome. I
Yeah,
mean,
it would
just
be until Bean trades like 4 times out of the first round, and all the Bills fans are like restless for waiting all night, just like this past season or this past
the
draft.
Bills would probably be louder than what they were in Detroit this year.
Mhm.
Right?
I mean, but you look at it this way that, Orchard Park, they're trying to build Orchard Park into kind of like in a way like a small entertainment district right now. They're thinking about building hotels
Right.
around the area. Businesses are going to be wanting to come and build near the stadium, near the Bills' new stadium. So, like, it's going to be like a mini suburb entertainment district
For sure.
in Orchard Park. If you go back quite a few years ago, the draft was in the NHL hosted the draft here in Buffalo. I believe it was Austin Matthews. Actually, was it I don't know if it was the Austin Matthews draft. Maybe the
I
William
mean, you
Nylander draft.
definitely know way more hockey than me, so
Yeah, I would also defer to you for that one as well,
That
Paul.
that draft that the draft did pretty good when it was here in Buffalo, and the NHL also hosts the scouting combine here in Buffalo. So it's quite cool that if the NFL wants to come to Buffalo to host the draft, I
Wait a
mean
minute.
Buffalo's
Wait a minute.
kind of already the draft the center of the NHL draft. Why not bring the NFL draft here, and the 7,500, the I think 750,000 fans showed up in Detroit. I mean, I
Wait.
think
Hold up.
the
Hold up,
Bills
Paul.
hosting the
Paul.
draft could easily pass that.
Absolutely. But I wanna put this in both of your brains, because I want you to imagine the hypothetical and how amazing this would be, okay? So, imagine Bills win the Super Bowl. You guys saw when the Buffalo Bandits won in the NLL. Did you guys see that absolutely nuts championship parade that they held for a lacrosse team? Could you guys just imagine how wild it will be when the Bills are hosting a Super Bowl parade in Buffalo?
Uh,
Like, I can't even imagine just how wild it would be to be in Buffalo at that time,
mhm.
because I guarantee you they'd just be wanting to absolutely. I don't know. I mean, there's just a whole lot of things that could happen if they did that, but I just want to see it. I just want to see it happen, man. I just want to come up to Buffalo for a Super Bowl parade already. And this is the year, all right. Just cross your fingers. Cross your fingers, Bills Mafia. Cross your fingers. But now that we've gotten those topics out of the way, it is time to get into the meat of the show, which, if I remember correctly, we all did AFC East positional rankings. And I think that a lot of them differ greatly, especially when you look at mine compared to Ben's and then compared to Paul's. They all look quite differently. Especially, I think I might make some people mad with a few of these positionals, but you
yeah,
know what?
let's get into it. I mean,
Let's do that. Let's start with yours though, Ben. I don't want to make everybody mad right away.
well, let's actually do it in order. Let's all just go through position by position our rankings, if that makes sense. So we got, I
Maybe.
think, 10 different positions. So we'll
Yeah.
start with quarterback room. I'll give my 1 through 4, and then either you or Paul goes after, and then the next one, and then we'll just go like that.
All
Yeah,
right.
that works perfect.
All right. So I'll
Start us off,
start.
Ben.
Yep, my quarterbacks, I got the Bills 1, Jets 2, Miami 3, and Patriots 4. Now,
Okay.
this might be a little controversial to some, but I still have a little faith in Aaron Rodgers, more so than I do in Tua, until Tua can prove that he can win a big game, late in the year, or, for that matter, that he can consistently beat teams above 500 with quarterbacks not named Dak Prescott. So I'm kind of looking for Tua to prove it more to me. If Aaron Rodgers is healthy, we still saw in his last healthy season that he can spin it and make some great throws. And until he kind of completely falls off, I'll have a little faith in him as a quarterback being the one of the all-time greats. So to me, I got Aaron Rodgers slightly ahead of Tua until I see Rodgers completely regress. Now, this is if Rodgers is completely healthy. Now, obviously, if his Achilles isn't totally healed, then Tua could obviously take that mantle as quarterback too. And then I got the Patriots 4th, obviously. And I mean, this is the most important position. I also kind of like the Jets backup situation more with Tyrod and Jordan Travis over Mike White and Skylar Thompson. I mean, Jacoby Brissett is actually one. If we're going to do a pure quarterback 2 rankings, I think Brissett would probably be up there as maybe the best backup quarterback. I mean, he may not even be a backup. He might start the season for the Patriots, but that's my quarterbacks.
He ought to.
Bills, Jets, Finns, and then Patriots.
All right. Well, you have certainly given an opinion, is all I'll say on the quarterback rankings. So if it's my turn, then I will go for it. So for my quarterback rankings, I have Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots. Obviously, Patriots is at the bottom for a very obvious reason. I mean, who knows what anybody will have in Drake May? Who knows exactly what kind of production he would put up throwing to wide receivers like Boo Boo Smith Schuster or however Antonio Brown said his name all those years ago.
Right.
I don't even remember I don't even remember half the players on that roster at this point because
Sure.
I mean,
I mean, it
and
feels
then
like it's kind of a new team.
it is a new team.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a new head coach, a new quarterback. I mean, they're rebuilding, so they have to be last by default. The reason I
Sure.
have the Jets in third over, you know, the reason I have Tua and the Dolphins over Aaron Rodgers and the Jets is literally because of the fact that I don't know how long Aaron Rodgers is going to last this season. I mean, he's coming off a torn Achilles. He's pretty up there in age. I mean, he
Okay.
might not
That's
last
fair.
that long at all. He's got a great position group around him. Obviously, Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. We'll get into that later. But at the same time, I just don't know how well he's going to hold up, especially seeing as they really didn't do much to address the O line. They did draft. I forget exactly who they drafted with
Olu
the 10th.
Fashanu.
Right, with the 10th overall pick. But I don't
Right.
know if it's going to be enough to
Sure.
keep
And
Aaron
then
Rodgers protected. And if Aaron Rodgers takes another nasty hit, I hope he doesn't, but if he takes another nasty hit, it's definitely not going to be good. I have a
I
lot
mean,
more
you could
faith
say the
in,
same thing about Tua though with his concussions
yeah,
though.
with the
To be
concussion
fair.
history, but yeah, no, you're not wrong with the concussion history and the hip injury, but I mean, he did make it all the games last season. So, I mean, and when he's on, he's on. So I think we'll get into the rest of it later, but I just think Tua is going to be obviously a little more reliable. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, he
granted,
definitely has the age advantage
he
over
definitely
Rodgers.
needs
I'll give
to
you that.
he needs to figure out how to beat teams over 500 that aren't the Dallas Cowboys. To your credit, Ben, but at the same time, I think he's still got it enough to at least get them places, not like deep playoff places, but places. And then obviously top of the list is the Bills because Josh Allen is one of only 2 elite quarterbacks in the entire NFL. I said what I said. Paul, give us the take.
All right,
Yeah,
so I
I'm
want to.
interested to
I
hear what
think
Paul's got for
mine's
us.
mine's a little different than your guys's, but I think it compares at the end, and I'll tell you the difference as I go through. Obviously, the Bills are number one. I mean,
Okay.
Josh Allen, I mean, he's easily the best quarterback in this division. I mean,
Duh.
when I was doing most of these rankings, it's more like, outside of their starters, who do they have all together as a whole in the room? And I think overall, I think the Bills have one of the better quarterback rooms in the AFC East. The Jets, number 2. I mean, it's Aaron
Wow.
Rodgers. I
Y'all are
mean,
hanging
he's
me out to dry, huh?
he's easily probably the second. I mean, he didn't play a snap of football, but just based off his track record, I mean, he's probably the second, should be the second best AFC East quarterback. But I mean,
Paul
Tua's
gets
also
it,
played, but
Connor.
I also have
Yeah, y'all just say what you will. Say what all of you will, but we'll see.
I
We'll
have
see.
the Patriots as at number 3.
Ooh,
And
wow.
I thought I was the one that was
why
supposed to have the controversial
one
takes.
reason why I have the Patriots ahead
I
of
like
the
it, though.
Dolphins in the AFC East, it's not because, I think Drake May is better than Tua. I just think overall the Patriots have just a little bit better of a a quarterback room than the Miami Dolphins. If Tua goes down, they're going to have to go to Mike White or Skylar Thompson. That means
Right.
their season's practically over. The Patriots have some wiggle room if somebody goes down and can still have a pretty decent season.
All right. Well,
See,
when
Paul
you put it
gets
that way, yeah. Well, when you put it that way, I see your points, but anyway, we have a running back room to discuss now, and this is probably one where people are going to be mad all over again. So Ben, take it away. You went first last time. You go first this time.
So to prove I'm not a total homer,
All right.
Ben, you're
He
muted
muted
again.
himself.
no, it muted me.
Oh, it
Yeah.
muted. Oh,
That's weird.
Yeah, somehow did it. All right.
what
Anyways,
have you broken?
to prove that I'm not a total homer, I have the
All right.
Jets 1, Miami 2, Buffalo
Okay.
3, and Patriots 4. And I actually think the running back rooms in the AFC East is probably one of the strongest positional groups overall. Like you could actually make a serious case for pretty much any of these teams 1 through 4. Like Ramondre Stevenson, when he's healthy, is one of the better backs in football. And obviously he's got to stay healthy, but he's a very talented back. Gibson is a decent number 2 back.
Yes.
Obviously, Kevin Harris and Jermichael Hasty kind of have to prove themselves in the NFL, which is why obviously they're the lowest. I really love the Bills running back room overall between Ray Davis, James Cook, of course.
James Cook.
Yep, and then of course Ty Johnson and Frank Gore. But Miami's running back room is just kind of disgusting. It's just so deep. It's just disgustingly deep, in my opinion.
There
because
you go. There you go.
It is. It's
I was about to
nasty
get
because
mad. I was about to be like,
they
what?
got Mostert at 1, HN at 2, and then obviously Wilson. I mean, he's kind of, I think, more of a just a guy at this point. But I'm really intrigued by the pickup of who's the running back they took from Tennessee in the draft?
Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright, thank you. Like he was a guy I kind of was eyeing in the draft process, and I'm a little annoyed that Miami got him, but they just got a lot of speed. I mean, I guess you could say they don't have a ton of power, but Mostert had 18 touchdowns last season. So I mean, he really proved that he could be like a power guy. So
I'm pretty sure he led the league in total touchdowns.
He did.
No. In the running back position, I believe he did. I'm not sure if it was complete total touchdowns, but you get my point.
I think it was overall, overall touchdowns. And
I mean, man was on another
he was
level
a beast.
last
I got to
season.
give it credit. Give him credit. And then to add an HN, that's going to be a tough duo.
Yep.
But the Jets, I got the number 1 because Brees the Beast, that's his literal nickname, and I think he's going to cook in his 3rd year. he's a very talented player, and I think with Rodgers he could show that he could be different. Um, just a great skill set overall, elite speed and power combo. Um, and then I do like the additions of I think it was Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen's another guy I really liked in the draft process, so I got to give them credit where it's due. They got a nice running back room, in my opinion, overall.
All right. Well, I guess we'll let you cook with that one, Ben. But now that it's my turn, I have to disagree on a few points, but we're about to find out exactly what points that I'm about to disagree with you on. So here we have it. This is a really deep, deep position group. And I really do
Right.
agree that this is one of the best that we could see in the entire NFL. But I have the Patriots last. I definitely think that everybody else is just that much better. And
Right.
I have the Bills third. We've still got, a little bit of growth that needs to happen within our own running back room. We got Ray Davis and Frank Gore Jr. and, James Cook is going to develop even further.
He's
So
gonna
I
cook.
have them. Exactly. So I have them at third in the meantime. But I have the Jets at number 2.
Okay.
I like Brees Hall. I really, really do. But I don't see any tandem in this entire division at running back better than Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Devon Achane, when he gets out in the open, is just lights out, completely gone. Absolutely. You will not catch this man. That's the thing about speed when it comes to those types
See,
of backs. The minute he's gone, and you won't catch him. I mean, we have to look at it from our perspective as well.
no,
The only player that looked any good against the Bills that played for Miami again in both of our games was Devon Achane. That's it.
right.
And that's just a testament to how good he is as just a speed back. He's not really a power back, but with that small a frame, he's not really supposed to be. That's what Raheem Mostert's there for. He's not a receiving back either. That's also what Raheem Mostert's for. So either way you look at it, Achane is going to be an incredibly good running back as he continues to develop. So I have to say Miami's definitely got the best running back room in the division. I like Brees Hall a lot, and I think James Cook has a lot of potential, but I have to give it to Achane. And it's like I said on my own solo show the other night when I was talking about how the Dolphins could surprise everybody and steal the division. Yeah, that would be the guy to do it. I don't think it'll happen, like I said on the show, Ben, but at the same time, if it happens, that would be a very big component to it, would be Achane running all over people. But
The former Dolphin fan in you is coming out again.
what?
I said the former Dolphin fans coming out again.
Nah,
thinking
it's
the
just the Floridian.
Dolphins would sneak the
There is no.
division.
It's just the Floridian. But anyway, moving on, Paul, give us your take. I swear, if you go controversial again,
I'm not going to disagree with you with Dolphins at 1. I mean, they're the one,
see,
Devon Achane, and
that's exactly it.
I mean, just you look at the room as a whole. I mean, Raheem Mostert, had a legendary season last year. Devon Achane could possibly be the next upcoming star for the Miami Dolphins in the running back room.
Yeah,
I mean, to rival James Cook. Speaking of James Cook, I think he is the reason why the Bills have the second best running back room in the AFC East. It's James Cook, but you look at who they also added. They added Ray Davis, and they've kept Ty Johnson. They're going to be good in the run, and they're going to be good in the pass, and that really is a good 1-2 combo to have, especially with wide receivers possibly being a question this year. At number 3 is going to be the New York Jets. I mean,
okay.
Questions with Brees Hall. Can he bounce back, from his injury? And then I really like the pickup.
I mean, I think
he
Braylon proved
Allen.
that though last year, right? He was elite at times, Brees, right?
Yeah, he was showing some really good flashes. He really was. I will agree to that.
I do like the pickup of Braylon Allen. I mean, he was the guy
Oh,
that
I
I
love
really
Braylon
wanted
Allen.
the Bills to pick
Yep.
up. And then,
Hmm.
the Patriots, fall to 4. I mean, as you guys said, this was probably the toughest, one of the
Hmm.
toughest things out of
This
the
was
AFC East to
yeah.
grade
Oh, it.
was the
Oh,
running
for
back room.
sure. Oh, for sure. It's kind of wild, all things considered. Looking at this running back room, and you're just having to kind of think about it, go down everybody's depth chart, and go, "Wow, this is a stacked running back class in literally any division." Like even Achan would be the running back one on a lot of teams outside of the AFC. I mean, if you think about it, he really would be. Imagine Achan on a team like Minnesota with Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson already. I mean, my God, give JJ McSystem even more to work with. But it is time to move on to the wide receiver room. And I think this one's going to be a little spicy. Ben, take it
No,
away. Let's hear. Or no, wait,
I got
wait,
O
wait,
line
wait.
next. I got
Back
O
up. Yeah,
line
O
next.
line next. Yeah,
Yep,
back
yep,
up.
yep.
Yeah, O line
So
is
a
next.
little
So
less
go
spicy.
for it.
Um,
Okay.
so the Bills had one of the best O lines in the NFL last year, and they
Yes.
not
They did.
only added to it, I think they may have improved it, even though they lost Mitch Morse because they got younger and more athletic at the center position. They drafted some really interesting names who could develop into some either great starters or good depth in both um, Travis Clayton and um, is it? I really want to make sure I get
For
this
the Bills.
guy's name. Tylen Grable. Tylen Grable. They
Hmm.
drafted some very interesting projects, and they added, Will Clapp and Lyle Collins. They still have Vandermark, and then obviously you still got Dawkins, and then I think Brown and Torrance are only going to improve. Now I still have the Patriots at number 2. Yes, they did have a big loss in Trent Brown, but keeping Mike O. They still have Andrews, obviously, at center. Other decent interior pieces. And really, my philosophy here is until I see the Patriots not have a good offensive line, like I'm gonna say they're still gonna have a good offensive line. So until I see them fall off, I'm gonna keep them as having a very good O line. Nothing against the Jets, who I think made some decent acquisitions to the O line. Like I like the Fashanu pick. I think that was a very good pick for them. That's what they needed. And I mean, they added some interesting pieces to kind of patch up some holes on the O line, and whether or not they'll work is yet to be seen. But I mean, Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses are both very accomplished players in this league. So if they can stay healthy, that's kind of like the same question with Aaron Rodgers. But if they could stay healthy, they could be a very good unit, especially with Joe Tippmann and AVT. And now on the flip side, speaking of the flip side, the Flippers got worse because they lost Robert Hunt and
Oh
Connor
man.
Williams,
Yep.
and their draft, like Patrick Paul he's a decent player, but he's a project who really doesn't have any chance of playing anytime soon. Maybe in 2 years he can replace Terran Armstead, but even Armstead's still a question if he can remain healthy. So that's why I have Miami last, just after the losses. Like Liam Eichenberg being penciled in as a starter is kind of a nightmare
Oh
scenario.
no, man.
Yep.
You
But
just brought doom and gloom to any Dolphins fan that's currently listening in on this show right now by speaking that
100%.
name, Liam Eichenberg, into the existence of literally everything. So, yeah, you said it. It's been an absolutely horrible, horrible offseason for the Dolphins offensive line. So now, speaking of offensive line, it is my turn to start the rankings. And here we go. I am going from last to first, as I usually have been so far. And yes, the Dolphins O line is the worst in this entire division. They really didn't get better. They lost probably their best offensive lineman in Connor Williams. He was playing great until the ACL tear. And I know Teron Armstead is really good, but he has never played a full 17-game season. So, yeah, I think it's not going to look good for them. I don't think the Jets' offensive line is actually really going to be that good either. And then, after the Jets, Patriots, and then Bills have the best offensive line in this division. We really do have a very slept on group in terms of how our offensive line is shaped up. So I am really excited to see how they do going forward, especially with Connor McGovern starting at center now. Paul, hit us up.
My offensive line rankings look like this. Jets is the first team. I really feel like they they added a lot, through the draft and overall, but I like the Bills. Bills are number 2. And then I have the Patriots at 3, and then obviously the Dolphins at 4. I mean,
I like the Smith acquisition, but don't you think the continuity of the Bills O-line mostly being intact from last year, plays more to their favor versus the Jets, which will still kind of have to gel as a unit?
That's a very, very true fact, actually.
That is true. I mean, I just have some questions at center. With a new center for Josh Allen, how would that look like?
That's a fair
obviously
point.
Deion Dawkins is going to be your left tackle. I mean, you David Edwards, and then you have Spencer Brown, and obviously Cyrus Torrance, and just depth wise, it's kind of bleak in some areas. I mean, how would Lyle Collins look?
I mean, you still have Vandermark. We'll see what we got in Grable and Clayton down the line, but you have Will Clapp. You have David Edwards, who, I mean, maybe he starts. Edwards is slated to start, right? So you have it actually depends. It depends if McGovern's been training for a year at center. So if he's a starting center, then Edwards is going to be your other guard.
Jets are going to need it, otherwise Grandpa Rogers gets run over in the pocket.
Awesome.
It's just that thing, I feel like it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't, but I feel like that's absolutely going to happen.
Right. I mean, so back to my point, if Van Pran Granger starts, then I believe McGovern will be back to his left guard position, and then you put Edwards back at on the bench. So there are some interesting scenarios, but I mean, we still have Alec Anderson, who can play a couple of different positions. Like there are other pieces on the O-line for depth, Paul, that we have. But let's
let us cook.
Just for time's sake, let's get to our receivers. And
I'll
try not to be as controversial here. I have Miami number 1 because they actually may have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the NFL.
For now.
I don't know if I put it right there personally, just because I like, maybe Houston or Cincy, but I mean, it's still very good. I think the Beckham pickup was decent, but I think some of the other pickups in the draft are kind of being more overlooked, like Malik and Taj Washington. Like both those guys have potential to be very good players in the slot. And then I believe they still have Eric Nzuma, or however his name is, and Braxton Berrios. So they kind of have some
Eric Ezukanma, yes.
Yes, they have some interesting depth pieces. I got Bills too, just because. Yes, Garrett Wilson, I believe, is still better than Shakir. I still like the Bills 1 through 3, even 1 through 4 or 5 than the Jets. The Jets, I just got a couple different questions, especially on the depth aspects. Like if Mike Williams isn't ready, like you really gonna trust Lazard and Malachi Corley, and who do they really have after that? The Patriots. I mean, if you're talking for strictly depth, they actually have some interesting names because right now Juju's not even listed as a starter.
What?
They also brought in KJ Osborne, who at one point was
Oh, yeah,
Minnesota's
right.
number 3, which is an interesting
Right, they
name.
did.
Javon Baker is an interesting piece. I mean, and then if you go deeper, you got Tyquan Thornton and Jalen Rieger, who are former high picks, and obviously those are more lower end guys. And then you have Kayshon Boutte, who is a former like 7th round pick, but there's some interesting names in that Patriots room. I will say, not great, but maybe some potential. But let's hear yours, Connor.
All right. Y'all are about to let me cook again? All right. So for the wide receiver rooms, I am going to go same order as I've done. I think the Patriots actually have the worst out of the division, and that's, not really a fault of their own, Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's just be completely honest. I mean, none of the names really strike you as good. I mean, KJ Osborne probably will. I'm actually kind of sad that he didn't go to Buffalo as kind of a depth piece, but
or even Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne is still a decent player.
Yeah, I mean, they do have decent names, but nothing compared
I actually
to what we've
really
seen on the
like
list.
Demario Douglas. He's
Yeah,
underrated. He's got
yes,
some
he is.
potential, like some speed. He gave the Bills some problems in our matchups last year.
Hey, now he helped me win a fantasy championship too. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
yeah, fantasy doesn't determine players' skills, obviously, but at the same time, he was
So
very nice in that regard.
who's your third team then?
My third team is, drum roll please, the Jets. I really
All
do
right,
like
we're on
Garrett
the same
Wilson.
page here.
I really do like Garrett Wilson. I think he has elite talent and could be a very elite wide receiver in the league. But outside of Garrett Wilson, who is there? Who is there? Just
I mean,
answer the question. Who is
Mike
there?
Williams coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah, boo hoo. Second on the list is the Bills.
Right.
And that I hope by maybe midway through the regular season, I'm changing that to first. But, obviously we've got a lot of unproven names, but we also have a lot of underrated names. Khalil Shakir, that are going to let the world know exactly who they are, because nobody that isn't really into football knows who Khalil Shakir is. So they will at the end of they will when the season begins. And then obviously at the top is the Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah,
Just
you really don't have to even
ridiculous.
say much more after that. But
You don't. I mean, and then imagine if they decide they're actually going to give Eric Ezukanma, or as he's known down there, Easy E, some playing time. I mean, who knows exactly?
River Craycraft.
Oh yeah, and then there's River Craycraft, and then obviously they have who I'd consider one of the best wide receivers in terms of special teams in Braxton Berrios. So, I mean, it's going to be rough trying to stop them, but the thing that I've always said is that their entire offense is built around speed. What do the Bills have? We have brick walls. Have fun trying to be that fat. Have fun trying to speed as fast as you can into a brick wall, because you're going to get immediately stopped in your tracks. And that's how we've won both times against that high flying powered offense. So moving on to Paul, give us those wide receiver rooms.
I have the Bills as the best wide receiver room in the AFC
Interesting.
East. And you look at the Bills.
The Bills.
I think
okay.
Bills as a whole, I feel like have the best wide receiver room from, wide receiver one all the way down their depth chart to like wide receiver 7.
I mean, are you counting like wide receiver 9? Because Justin Shorter and KJ Hamler are pretty interesting depth pieces.
Mm-hmm.
At number 2, this might come to a surprise to you, but when I was looking at wide receiver rooms, I was looking at the wide receiver rooms, kind of like at the quarterback room, as as a whole. I have the Patriots at 2, and yeah.
Your reaction, Connor.
What do you think? This is
but
2017 and Juju Smith-Schuster's in his prime all over again or something?
right? Or
Get out of the time loop that
they
you're
still
stuck in.
have Edelman and Amendola,
Do they
right?
still have Tom Brady at quarterback? Is Bill Belichick the head coach? What are we doing here,
right.
Paul? Get out of the time machine.
What year is it?
For real. Am I back in 2018? I mean, I'll take it, but still. All
I
right,
mean,
enough grilling. Let's
it's a
actually
pretty
hear it.
solid wide receiver room. If they get going, I think if Drake May can get going, I think he has some really good solid wide receivers. I mean, KJ Alburn, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Pogue. I think that could be an underrated
I
wide
mean,
receiver room.
I'll say this: if you're looking at it kind of from a neutral perspective without the lens of being a Bills or Patriots fans, you could say the Bills and Patriots wide receiver cores are kind of built in similar aspects. You have, some journeyman vets who have produced at times, but really not lightly, i.e., Chase Claypool and Juju Smith Schuster. It's ironic that they're former teammates. I mean, then you got guys like Matt Collins, KJ Osborne. Then you have your rookies and younger players and, guys who have maybe shown in limited snaps. So, I mean, they are built kind of in similar aspects, but obviously it really starts at the top with the trigger man, and that's where the Bills have the huge advantage.
Mm-hmm.
At 3 is the
Absolutely.
Miami Dolphins. I mean, no explanation needed. I mean, with Tyreek Hill, Waddle, and Odell Beckham Jr. is their top 3. But outside of that, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's nothing, special. I mean, just like you said, Connor, it's just based off speed. What else is there to their wide receiver room but that? And then the Jets at number 4. They
Right.
get Garrett Wilson, Malachi Corey's a rookie. Then they have Mike Williams to really line out their top 3, and then kind of that's it. If one of them goes down, it really just affects the entire wide receiver room.
Yeah, I would
Let's go to the
agree to
next.
that 100%. All right. Next, this is the fun part right here. So now we're into tight ends. So Ben,
right.
take it away. Tight ends.
I think this one is a little easier to rank.
Well,
Obviously,
duh.
I think the Bills are the best. Kincaid last year as a rookie, even missing a game, still finished as a top 10 tight end overall in receiving yards. You have Dawson Knox then, who has proven to be a very reliable weapon in red zone threat as well. Great blocker. Number 2, I have the Patriots because I believe Hunter Henry is still one of the better tight ends in the NFL overall. I mean, he's a good weapon, red zone threat and blocker. Austin Hooper is, I mean, he's a guy, but I mean, I guess he's proven some. And then Jaheim Bell, like tight end 3, he'll probably end up.
Why'd you make
I
me think of
know.
that?
I hate to bring it up, but that was a good pickup for New England. I mean, he could end up, when it's all said and done, he could actually end up as a tight end 2 to Hunter Henry. And honestly, we talk about as a Bills show, how the Bills can kind of help having a lack of quality or great receivers by doing more 12 personnel this season. I mean, the Patriots could almost do the same and run out Hunter Henry and Jaheim Bell, who's almost more like a slot weapon. Like that could almost be the Patriots' best offensive look. And then I got the Jets number 3. Tyler Conklin actually had 600 receiving yards last year with trash quarterbacks. Their tight end 2 is kind of questionable, and Rucker, but some other interesting names lower on the depth chart. I mean, then I got Miami as 4th. Jonnu Smith. Seriously, what are we doing here at starting tight end? Like, are we really trying to hype that up? That man is the definition of mid. So is Durham Smythe, and I don't even know, was it Julian Hill is their tight
Yes.
end 3, who is
Do not
absolutely trash as
disrespect.
well. No, that
Do
man
not
is
disrespect
garbage.
Dolphins legend Julian
All
Hill.
right, so those are my 4 tight ends right there. Bills,
All right.
Patriots, Jets, Dolphins.
That is certainly a choice. But you know what? I this is definitely going to be a fairly easy ranking for all of us. So tight end. This one's pretty easy. Dolphins have the worst tight end room in the entire division. Let's just be completely honest with ourselves. Disregarding Dolphins legend Julian Hill, ain't nobody. So outside of them, you got Patriots tight end room. I think they're definitely a good room, but Hunter Henry. I mean, I'm not all moved, and I'm not really moved by the Jets tight end room either. So obviously the Bills have the best tight end room in the division. Dalton Kincaid, more like Dalton Kingoat, and more like Travis Kelce 2.0, if you guys know what I mean, especially if he is put up in the offense in the same way that Travis Kelce is. But yes, that is what I said. Bills have and then we still have Dawson Knox too. We could actually run a 2 tight end set quite a fair bit of the time. Have them both on the field at once. Have defenses looking at you going, "What are they doing? What are they cooking?"
Yeah, the tight end rooms are, fair are all interesting in their own ways. As with the Bills obviously leading the way with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I mean, you go even to tight end number 3, Quentin Morris. Each tight end brings their own skill sets. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, he isn't much of a blocking tight end, but that's why you have Dawson Knox and Quentin Morris that you can use Quentin Morris exclusively for the blocking, and then you have Dawson Knox as in he can catch footballs and block for you when needed. So obviously the Bills would be number 1.
Yeah.
At number two, I have the New England Patriots. It's kind of the same way. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, and then they drafted Jaheim Bell. I mean,
Paul,
I really feel
why?
like Henry, Hooper, and Bell can be really, really big trio for the New England Patriots this season. As the blocking for the run game and for the receiving game. At number 3 is really Jets and Dolphins here. I have Dolphins at 3, and Jets at 4, but really their tight end rooms are really identical. Honestly,
Right.
if I
Identically
would do
bad?
something like this, it would be 1, 2 tied for third.
1, 2 bad and even worse. So
Right.
agreed, 100%.
So let's actually, if you guys want, we can save defense for next week because I feel like we could cook a lot more like we did tonight, and we can get into our quick takes now for to close out the show.
Yep, I'm in. Let's do it.
All right.
We got some we got some fun quick takes.
Yeah, so back to quarterback. Best quarterback room in the AFC East. I know we kind of, I guess talked about it when we did the rankings in a way, but I guess to kind of pose a counter question, who do you think is the best quarterback 2 in the AFC East? Because we saw last year, like 10 or so starting quarterbacks went down in the regular season. So, I mean, backup quarterback, and we even saw this year, backup quarterbacks got paid, and even the Falcons basically spent a top 10 pick on a top 10 quarterback or a backup quarterback effectively. So, I mean, backup quarterbacks have value. So, I mean, if you were to take the backup quarterback of any of these AFC East teams, who would it be?
I think we're going to let Paul go first because I think he's deliberating this just a little more.
I'm really thinking about this because I'm trying to think of it outside of a homer perspective, because if I'm looking at it just through a Bills lens, it's Mitchell Trubisky. But if I'm looking, as this maybe as a NFL or just a non-biased fan, it's probably Jacoby Brissett maybe. I mean, what has Mitchell Trubisky really done since, he's been in Buffalo? He's been pretty good, but he's just been the backup.
Mid.
Jacoby
Well,
Brissett
we saw him in Pittsburgh get benched for Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Yeah,
And
well,
Jacoby
that's
Brissett,
Pittsburgh.
he's been pretty, he's been that serviceable, guy that could get you, playing good 500 football for, a good 6-game stretch if needed.
Sure.
So I guess I'll go Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett. All right, you know what? Mine's going to be probably the most controversial. Ben, you're going next.
I mean, I think I gotta agree with Paul here. I mean, he makes some very great points. I mean, in a vacuum, you could say um, Trubisky's probably enjoyed the most success out of all of them and is probably one of the younger ones. I think White could be younger, possibly. And White was decent at times, but that was more of a smaller sample size. And we know, backup, quarterbacks, after about 5 or so games, even we saw with Jake Scheisse last year, when the book is out, it's kind of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, in a vacuum, I'd probably, again, like Paul said, a homer me says Trubisky, but recently I kind of like the what have you done for me lately. For Tyrod Taylor, it seems like whenever he goes in, he always gets injured, leading to a rookie stealing his job. So if he were to start for me in this scenario, I would assume he would just get hurt by default, and then they would have to go to Jordan Travis. And I like Jordan Travis, but nothing against him.
Me too.
I think he just needs to develop a little bit. And I would still take the other guys more. I trust guys with the experience.
Yeah, I get it. I would fully agree with you, as much as I'd also love to say Jordan Travis. I can't say Jordan Travis because he hasn't even played a snap in the NFL yet. And it'll help him sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for a few years, which I absolutely cannot stand the fact that he got drafted by the Jets. Oh my God. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other time. But because I am about to probably break something with this take, I had to go last. So Paul, let's refresh here. Paul, you said Jacoby Brissett, right?
Yes.
And Ben, you said, say it one more time for the audience.
Jacoby Brissett.
So both of you said Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
How dare both of you disrespect the legend Mike White? Mike White is him, and let
until
Mike
Matt Milano gets to him again.
Okay, well let's
Matt
disregard
Milano
this.
fold him in like a chair.
Yeah, but Matt Milano can fold anybody like a chair, so that's
true.
beside the point. Anyway, my point is Mike White has had some very stellar games as the Dolphins backup. I mean, look at what he even did. I don't want to beat this dead horse much because this is just what was this game? But remember the game against Denver?
Come on,
He actually
Connor.
threw a
We
huge
could have thrown a
touchdown.
touchdown pass in that game with the click that Miami was scoring and the defensive performance.
Ben,
in
you
that
could have
game.
lined up at receiver. I could have thrown you.
You would have thrown me a dime, and I would have beaten them for a touchdown.
I would have probably thrown you a screen pass, and you would have still made
But
it.
Connor, what has he done since then? Like after that performance, he has 7 total yards.
Yeah, I mean he's a backup. He's
that
not
was
supposed to do
effectively an
much.
exhibition game.
It was an
ultimate
exhibition game.
beatdown.
Yeah, it was a game where the Broncos were like, "We're done." But anyway, that's also not the point of the story. The point is that it's quite the idea that I think if you put Mike White in that system, he will succeed. And I definitely think that you give Mike White a shot elsewhere, even with a good team around him, I think Mike White actually really could be good. We saw plenty of flashes out of him. Jacoby Brissett, I really like, but man is up there in the age category. Can we both agree? Can we all agree on this? Like, that's the only thing that really just. That's the thing that really is just like.
He's been good recently.
Who's more serviceable, Jacoby Brissett or Mike White? Who's going to give you more wins if you need them? I think it's Jacoby Brissett.
But also,
still
keep in mind, you're not. Let's just say you're starting a team and you don't have both Tyreek and Waddle to throw to on the outside. It's just regular receivers. You still taking Mike White.
Mike White beat the Cincinnati Bengals that were led by Joe Burrow when he was with the Jets.
That's
so
true.
Don't forget that. Mike White has the flashes. Mike White has the potential. And to be completely honest, I actually wish Mike White would have been signed by Buffalo instead of Mitch Trubisky, but here we are. We have Mitch freaking Trubisky. Yes, I'm not happy about it, and I have very good reasons to not be happy about it. But I believe that will conclude tonight's episode
No,
of
no,
the
no.
show. Oh, did you want one more thing, Ben?
Were we
What
gonna
do you
finish
got?
the topics, or no? Or are we just
What do you
gonna
got
wrap
cooking?
it there?
Do you want to wrap it there? Do you want to keep cooking? I feel like you got stuff to cook.
I mean, we got 3 more topics we can quickly get to if you guys
All right, you
want
know what?
to.
You know what? I
Perfect. Let's
want
go.
to. We're cooking, so cook.
Yeah. So
Start cooking, Ben.
next topic: should the Bills be worried about not having a true pass blocking running back?
No, not really. I mean, that's what the two tight end set is for. I mean, if you're gonna get a running back that is meant to pass block, then freaking sign one. He's going to be RB 3 or 4
I
on the
mean,
depth chart. Put him in there on certain plays to block so Josh Allen has more time in the pocket. I mean,
I'll also say that Ty Johnson proved to be a serviceable blocker last year, and Ray Davis has shown it on his draft tape to be an excellent blocker, and
yes,
what's basically effectively the closest thing outside of the NFL to the NFL in terms of talent level, which is the SEC. So obviously the NFL doesn't have a minor league, but if it did, it's basically the SEC. So Davis was very good pass blocking there against the monstrous defensive players. So I think the Bills should be okay in the pass blocking department.
yeah, I would agree. Even though all I hear whenever I hear SEC anymore is the very will be very famous war chant just overwhelming their stadiums. Ben, you know exactly what I mean. But honestly, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Paul, give us your take. Give us your take.
It's a little concerning. I wouldn't say it's like, a fire alarm circling in our heads right now, but you know, I think it's a little bit of a concern. Just
Oh,
what if you can use 12 personnel, but what if you're not in 12 personnel and and they get through and a defender gets through and that running back isn't a true pass blocking you know running back, and it just makes Josh Allen's life just a tad bit harder. Even though he has the mobility to move around in the pocket, but Josh Allen loves a clean pocket, and he can cook better in a clean pocket rather than having him have to
what
swerve
quarterback doesn't
everywhere.
love a clean pocket? I mean, let's be
So
honest. What quarterback doesn't love a clean pocket?
100%.
any quarterback would love a clean pocket,
Actually,
but
hold on. I know of one who doesn't, and that's Justin Fields. We've all seen him. We've seen him run headlong into pressure before, so that's probably why he's returning kick returns in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Anyway,
All right.
we have another
Let's
topic.
wrap with this final one as far as did the Jets give Rodgers enough protection? And to me, it's a complete TBD. There are question marks pretty much all over. I think John Simpson's a weakness, especially if you look at
Yep.
his PFF grade last year. It was below average, and then he gave up, I believe, something like 10 or so penalties. So he's a
Yep.
penalty machine. He got completely pancaked by Chris Jones in the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
And then you got 2 older tackles with injury problems. Elijah Vera Tucker's coming off a torn
Yep.
Achilles, and then we'll
Yep.
see what Joe Tippmann is. I like Fashanu as a
Yeah.
rookie, but even if he has to play, we've seen, specifically Andrew Thomas, right? High draft tackles really not produce immediately, and they'll kind of need it right out of the gate. That
Yep.
blindside protection for
Oh
Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers.
for
So
sure.
to me, it's a wait and see for the Jets O line. I think there are
Yeah.
certainly some interesting pieces there, but as far as if they did enough, yeah, it's a complete to be determined for me.
And I'm on the same page. They have a lot of new pieces, and there is a lot of question marks on that offensive line. I am also going to be in the to be determined category, but at the same time, I feel like there's not really much potential there. I mean, you mentioned Elijah Vera Tucker coming off an injury, and yeah, coming off an injury is never easy. I don't think there's very many players that are ever going to be 100% coming off an injury. So it's just a matter of how well they come back. I mean, you always hope that they come back as best they can,
Right.
but some players just don't do well coming off of injuries. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how it goes. But that's kind of where I stand for now is there are too many pieces that still need to be worked out on the offensive line for the Jets. They need time to meld, and we'll see exactly how they do. And then, in a few years when Jordan Travis takes over, I pray they've gotten it together by then so he doesn't die in the pocket immediately. Protect my boy Jordan Travis for the love of all that's holy, please. I don't want to see him get in the league and immediately die because the Jets don't know what an offensive line is.
Right.
If the Jets' offensive line melts together and they could stay healthy, I think it could be a really good offensive line. If one piece, gets injured or one piece doesn't work, it's not really great offensive line. And their left tackle, what was I forget the name they had last year, but it was an
Dwayne
older
Brown.
left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he was almost like he was in his mid-30s, like almost like I think he was like 38. I was just reading up on the Jets offensive line last year, and then then they replaced him, who was one of the worst left tackles in the NFL last year, to Tyron Smith. In his career has been a pretty good left tackle, but has been filtered with a whole bunch of injuries. So it's a big if, across their entire offensive line. But if they meld together, can stay healthy for at least 75% of the season, I think the Jets have a pretty solid offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree. It just really depends if it all melts together. But that will wrap tonight's edition.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we were really cooking with the offensive personnel, so we really decided, just so we can kind of do the same with the defense, just to be fair to the defense, we're going to split it up into two different shows. So
absolutely,
next Monday, 7:30, we're going to continue where we left off with our defensive positional rankings, and maybe CeeDee Lamb will be signed by then. Hopefully not, because I want him to be a Bill next year. That's my current agenda. But anyways,
all right, same. We're on the same agenda.
Make sure to follow us on all of our socials, subscribe to the podcast, and you can find it on any of your favorite audio platforms, including obviously YouTube and Twitter. But that should do it. Have a great night and go Bills.
Also, one more thing I will mention. Yes, make sure you follow all of the hosts on Twitter as well. I know we're all pretty somewhat active on Twitter with our takes. Make sure you follow me at my football account at the Florida Man 17. Follow my racing account at that Florida Guy 5. My next video will be coming out shortly. And not only will I be recapping what we saw in the motorsports world last weekend, but I have some spicy NFL takes for everyone else. And they are not all Bills related because I am being as impartial as possible on my own show. But I do have stuff cooking too. Y'all are going to like to see that too. So make sure you guys follow all of us. And to what Ben was just about to say that I know we all agree with on this show, go Bills.
Go Bills.